Your narcissistic parents have set you up for fucking failure, and now you, as an adult, are actually questioning your entire life and identity, questioning your entire life, why you are the way that you are, why you cannot hold a job, why you cannot hold relationships, why you're constantly fucking up your life, and always have to rebound back to toxic cycles. I'm going to explain why. Narcissistic parents, narcissistic fathers, narcissistic mothers, psychopaths, Machiavellianists, whatever you want to call them, of the dark triad personality disorders, they don't raise children. They program children to actually be their most ideal puppets so they can actually present themselves as a shield. So psychopaths and narcissists are not being exposed of the horrible abuse they actually do towards their own children. This includes both the sons and the daughter. And you, as a child, a daughter, a son of a narcissistic, psychopathic, Machiavellianistic mother or father or both, are now questioning your entire identity because your entire life you've been programmed to actually protect them and to present them to the world in a specific way that actually makes them look good. Meanwhile, they're horrible people, monsters, literal psychopaths. Narcissistic, psychopathic parents literally set their children up for failure by letting them grow up in poverty, by letting them be abused, sexually abused by other family members, or sexually abusing themselves, as a parents to their child, whatever, or to purposely move towards a bad neighborhood to live in poverty, send them to the worst schools possible, set them up for failure by telling their daughters that they have to abide to a man and that they always have to be dependent on another man, grooming them to actually fall in love with predators, and also grooming them to never be financially savvy whatsoever, and keeping them dependent on a toxic cycle. Narcissistic parents have one agenda, and that's literally setting their children up for massive failure later in their adult life. The reason why they want to do that is because the moment you become an adult and you realize that they're actually toxic as fuck and you decide to get the fuck out, but you actually realize that you can't do that because you have been wired your entire life to fail. You have been wired and programmed since birth to fuck up your own life and to constantly be in toxic relationships, constantly be in toxic workspaces, to never be financially savvy, to always be unhealthy, never have healthy coping mechanisms whatsoever. And you always run back to your narcissistic parents because they're going to validate the same behavior they have installed inside of you, because with the sole purpose of actually destroying you later in the future so they can sit back and watch you destroy yourself. A narcissist never loves you. Psychopaths don't love their children. Narcissists don't love their children. Machiavellianists don't love their children. Sociopaths don't love their children. Even dark empaths, they don't like their children at all. They hate their children. And because they have a hatred towards children, because they have never been able to actually be a healthy, emotionally stable child, they purposely go through the entire 8 to 9 months of pregnancy in order to get a child so they can torture the fuck out of the child. You have to be mentally twisted to even go through all of that stuff and still stand up and tell the abused child that you have always loved them and that what they have experienced was never really true and that never happened. You need to be the next level of fucking delusional, fucking psychopathic to able to do that. But that's how narcissists work. That's how psychopaths work. And when I tell these things, a lot of people tell me, well, that sounds horrible and really terrifying, and that's really fucked up. Well, welcome to the world of dark triads. They are fucked up. They are fucking sick. They are psychologically sick, but they present themselves as if they're greater than sliced bread. They come across as, superficial, charming, and well put together because that's their entire facade. That's why it's so difficult for Child Protective Services to actually step in and realize that their children are being abused, because they know how to manipulate the authorities with superficial charm, with their job title, with their so-called entrepreneurial investment into being like, I don't know, let's say a charity to help children in foreign countries whatsoever. They know how to play and act shit up So for the outside world, even to other family members who genuinely are not flying monkeys or enablers, they couldn't have known, because the narcissist also threatens their own children that if they ever say something, they will fuck them up. A narcissist will fuck up their children on purpose so they can just watch the child suffer. My parents are psychopaths and narcissists, and my second sister is a narcissistic psychopath, and she married a psychopath. This is her second, well, actually third psychopath she has been married to and has children with. I don't want to talk about the second one because the one she's with now is actually the third one. But the same way that our narcissistic parents fucked us up, she is literally copying my mother. And she has produced 5 children, because there are 5 of us, and she has produced her own 5 children, and she's repeating the exact same dynamic, taking over the role of my narcissistic mother, being self-obsessed and obsessed with being validated by other men, other abusive older men, and being in this position of hurting their daughters, because narcissistic mothers hate their daughters. They hate their daughters. And narcissistic fathers hate their sons. They really do. And she's repeating the fuck out of this shit. What she has been going through with my other siblings, with my psychopathic parents, she's now repeating, being in the same position as my narcissistic mother, marrying an abusive man who is molesting and hurting the children. Meanwhile, they present themselves as like, oh, but we're doing good charities, and I'm going to church, and I work with children at the church. Bitch, you shouldn't even be allowed to be near children. Legally, you should have like a restraining order to be, don't even be near children whatsoever. Because the way that you have been treating your children is already enough with evidence to sue you for at least a decade into motherfucking jail. And we can't really, tell you that you have been authentic enough to do that, because you're copying mother. You have been copying mother since the first child, so almost 20 years. Make it the fuck make sense. Narcissistic, psychopathic parents hate, absolutely hate their children. And they feel no remorse about it. They won't let the neurodivergent child, let's say one of the children have ADHD, autism, they're constantly stimming, they are unable to focus, or they have trouble with reading or arithmetics, all these kind of stuff. So now we're getting into neurodivergence, ADHD, autistic spectrum disorder, dyscalculia, dyslexia, all these things. They will purposely let the child suffer with unsupported neurodivergence, even though there are many, many, many options to actually support the child. But a narcissistic parent will let the child suffer and paint the child out as if he or she is constantly, the source of all trouble in this family. Meanwhile, they actually need help. They will even go as far as sending them to some sort of mental hospital because the child is constantly speaking the truth. There's always a golden child, and there's always a scapegoat, and then you have the middle children and the flying monkeys. And narcissists are constantly repeating the same cycle over and over and over again, based upon and colored by their ethnic background and their ethnic community and their culture and whatnot. That's why in my previous video I spoke about you have to legally change your name in order to become a different person and get the fuck away from your family, because carrying that name is already emotional baggage that actually subconsciously programs you to repeat the same pattern. Legally, you're bound to them. So if something happens to you, they can legally trace you to your family members whatsoever, whether it's through the court system, whatever, and you're still bound by them, especially if you have like older parents. I advise you to change your name, because whenever they pass due to natural courses, your siblings are not going to pay for their deaths. Your siblings are not going to pay for your parents' debts. It will all come to you if you're the youngest of a narcissistic family. So that's why you need to legally change your name so you're no longer bound by the curse of your narcissistic psychopathic family.